Okay, so today we are presenting the Lake Neos disaster. I'm Abigail Holden.
I'm Sinjin Choi.
I'm Celine Jalalingport.
Okay, so the type of disaster the Lake Neos disaster is, it's a geophysical disaster. This is because it is a volcanic lake that is filled with gas due to geophysical processes. Although it spewed out gases, the initial cause was geophysical processes. And the location, it occurred in Africa, in northwestern Cameroon, near the village, the Neos village. Okay, so the events are as follows. Gas was building up in the lake for a very long time, and it was getting trapped in the bottom layers due to volcanic activity releasing gas into the bottom layers or the rock and then the bottom layers of the lake, and then it didn't overturn, so it just built up, and there was no evidence, there was no signs of any danger. But around midnight on August 21st, 1986, some unknown event caused a disruption and caused the CO2 in the gas to effervesce out. Villagers reported first hearing a rumbling sound. And then they went out and saw a huge water spout and a cloud of gas gathering around the lake and starting to travel towards them. The gas was CO2, which is heavier than air. So it sank and started traveling in a river formation outwards. And it was reported to be 50 meters tall, which is pretty tall. And it went to the Neos village and killed almost everyone there. Only 4 were able to survive after going to higher ground, and it didn't stop there. It went a total of 23 kilometers, and it went to the villages of Neos, Kam, Cha, and Sebum. And it killed a lot of livestock too, and it knocked a lot of people unconscious as well. It didn't just kill. And after effects, the water in the lake went from a beautiful blue to like a reddish brown. So it changed the color of the lake as well in mixing up the layers.
The Lake Neos disaster was a limnic eruption, which is also known as a lake overturn. And this kind of disaster is incredibly rare, as there have only been a couple in recorded history. And essentially, the way it works is that gases are emitted from magma from an underlying volcano, and the gases began to trickle through from the underground into the bottom of a lake. And the gas, which is predominantly carbon dioxide, then began to accumulate into a larger mass at the bottom. And these gases were able to remain at the bottom due to the colder and denser water, which was actually trapped by the warmer water above it. The warmer water created was basically a layer which acted as a cap on a soda bottle. And just like a soda bottle cap, the warmer water created a large buildup of pressure, which eventually was released by some sort of trigger. And in the case of Lake Ness, the trigger is still uncertain, but many limnologists or lake scientists have hypothesized that it could have potentially been an earthquake, landslide, heavy rain, heavy wind, or some other disruptive event. But regardless of the trigger, when the water was displaced, bubbles began to form and the water level was elevated, which emitted more carbon dioxide and created a gaseous column. And this carbon dioxide filled water began to be sucked up from the bottom through the column and was released in an explosion of gas as millions of cubic meters of carbon dioxide were released. And the ensuing carbon dioxide explosion created a giant cloud, which traveled at about 12 to 30 miles per hour over a span of almost 15 miles. And because carbon dioxide is denser than air, it covered the ground and blocked out any breathable air, causing many people and livestock to die. And to get a better overall understanding of the process, we have this figure, which essentially outlines the basic processes of a limnic eruption. And you could see the gases from the magma at the bottom seep through to the lake to create that buildup. And although the disruption or trigger is unknown, this figure uses strong winds as the trigger. And this trigger caused the carbon dioxide to flow downward and essentially wipe out a giant population of people and livestock.
Before the Lake Neos tragedy, the surrounding villages were thriving with livestock as well as being supplied with resources from the water source. The Lake Niles disaster, as mentioned earlier, nearly wiped out entire villages that killed over 1,700 people in total, including over 3,000 livestock. So as you can imagine, they're pretty well off on their resources and they're pretty self-sustained. They sustain their own villages and that was all wiped out. So their economy just failed. Um, an example, so you can picture the death toll is in one village, 500 people died, and then in another village that was 5 miles away from the lake, only 6 of a population of 800 survived. Next slide, please.
It's on the significance.
Oh, it is. Sorry, my computer's lagging. Following the Lake Nyos disaster, scientists uncovered the possibility of a catastrophe reoccurring at the Lake Nyos or at another nearby lake. And the weight of this disaster led to extensive research on how catastrophes like this could be prevented in the future. The Lake Nyos tragedy also teaches us that geologic disasters can be largely unpredictable, so we must do everything we have in our power to lessen the toll of such inevitable occurrences. And I also read in another article that in an effort to try to prevent this from happening again, they put degassing pipes so it can happen gradually, but they said there's still too much gas buildup and it would only benefit like a smaller body of water. So they're still unsure of how successful that would be. And that's it.
These are our sources.